Greetings, Indie Warriors, and welcome to I Dream of Indie. My name is Old Gamer Joe, bringing you yet another review today as we look at adventure exploration game The Dead Tree of Ranchiuna on the Nintendo Switch.
Alec, are you there?
I remember this voice. Andre, it's been so long. How have you been?
It was tough in Bucharest, so I decided to return home. How are you?
You'll be playing as a man who went off to university and is now returning home to his village, where he sees a lot of different visions of events that took place while he was away. Not only does he seem to have a lot of old acquaintances within this village, but he also has a love interest that continues to drive him forward, and maybe a little bit mad too. I'm not going to lie to you, I think this developer had a clear vision for a story, but the poorly written script along with some really bad voice acting, and I'll get into that a little bit later, do nothing to bring it to life or to bring this game any sort of meaning. While there is the basis of a solid story here with, to be fair, a decent ending, you're often interrupted by a really obnoxious narrator out of nowhere. It's like a jump scare.
The excitement of a walk with a sweetheart can make us forget everything.
Chill out, man. This narrator will spew a lot of artsy-fartsy philosophy your way that, in my eyes, made no sense whatsoever, so maybe there's a deeper meaning here that I'm missing, but I'm okay missing it because the story overall wasn't very good. As for the gameplay, you're mainly just walking forward throughout this title. In fact, you can press a button in order for your character to continually move forward. At first I thought this was a glitch, but then I went in the options menu and realized that this is in fact part of the game and something that you can do. And like a lot of walking simulators, you'll hit some trigger points that will reveal more and more of the story, and that creepy, scary narrator will pop up and make you cry now and then. The game only has a brief 2-hour runtime, so you'll only come across maybe a handful of puzzles here, and none of them are very inventive or interesting, which feels like a big-time missed opportunity. A few of them simply involved randomly throwing switches until the gate opened up. It was kind of silly. I have no idea how I solved it to this very day. So yeah, that's pretty much it. The gameplay's not compelling at all, and you're more or less just walking forward through various scenes of nature and old torn-down villages until you get to the end of the game. The puzzles present no challenge, there's no other real gameplay variety, and it's just a matter of getting from point A to point B and progressing the story through those various narrators. The result is a very boring experience with a lackluster story, but I can say that some of the visuals here are at least somewhat enjoyable. I think they've done a decent job of getting this game to run on the Switch. It certainly doesn't look as good as its PC counterpart from even 2 years ago, but that said, there are some nice sets of nature throughout. As you get closer to some of the trees and textures, you'll realize that they look like they're straight out of the Nintendo 64 era. Your character's animations are pretty stiff and almost laughable, but at a distance, there's some okay looking scenes. I will also say the soundtrack is really quite excellent in this game, with some beautiful orchestrated compositions that are lovely, littered with some nice piano as well. It's a shame because the voice acting, as I touched on earlier, is just dreadful in this game. There's no personality, and the quality of those voices seems to vary, like they were using different USB microphones or something of varying quality, and you have some really low quality narrations versus some that are slightly better, but overall, none of them sound well mixed or very good. On the flip side of that, and to end on a somewhat positive note, at least with the sound department, some of the nature sounds do sound really authentic and great. A total mixed bag. In the end though, I can't really recommend The Dead Tree of Ranchiuna. It's a 2-hour experience that isn't all that well made. There are some nice visual sets here or there, but it's not really enough to overcome some really slow meandering with some bad philosophy and voice acting and production values that just can't match what this developer was trying to create. One last thing I should mention is that the performance on the Nintendo Switch was not particularly great either. As you hit new areas, you would get some pretty severe frame rate stutters and chugs, but they wouldn't last all that long, so it wasn't game breaking or anything. There were a few glitches where my head would go through rocks and that kind of thing, so some typical Switch port performance here, nothing special at all. This one is a pass.
So, do you want to tell me about your time in Bucharest?
I'd rather not think about that now. It was all messed up.
So, are you sorry you made me wait here?
Maybe. Are you sorry you didn't come with me?
Thank you so much for watching the latest video from I Dream of Indie. We would now like to take a moment to pay tribute to our great indie warriors who support us through channel memberships. Bill T, Christian Cruz, Kevilo, Mitchell Hall, Chris Jackson, Nathan Moore, Adriana Amato, CJR, C. Coyle, Skeptism, Haley, Julian Kolbish, Jen Rose, Jesse, CPM, Bunny, JRS the 8th, Ray Lynn, Marky Mint, Dave Hart, Peekaboo, Lex Noel, Eric, PSC, Adrian Garcia, King of the Hatch, and Carmine Red. Thank you so much for all you do for independent developers, publishers, and for I Dream of Indie. Thank you for being a voice against the echo chamber. If you want to learn how you can support us, head on down to the description box below and become an indie warrior yourself. We'll see you for the next video.